Test. Test.
Your son looks like you're probably a watch. Did you go? Oh my God. Hey, how you doing?
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everybody to please turn off or silence your cell phones. Councilman Taylor, would you mind leading us in an invocation?
Heavenly Father, we do thank you. It's a beautiful day that you've given us today. We thank you for the rains that were sent, and we pray, Lord, that you'll protect us from the storm this week. We know it's all in your hands. We thank you for allowing us to live in a great little town like Tarboro and a wonderful country like the United States of America, where we can gather together and discuss the issues that are before us. Be with us tonight as we discuss those issues and help us as a council work with our staff and our citizens to do the right things for us. Tonight, we also lift up our fellow neighbors in the western part of the state that we know are still struggling. We just pray, Lord, that you will give them the strength to carry on. Thank you again for giving us this day. Bless us this night. We ask it all in your name. Amen.
Please rise if you're able for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on tonight's agenda is the approval of the agenda by council. Councilwoman Jordan made the motion. Councilman Woodard seconded that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Tonight we have two proclamations. The first of which is honoring the life of Ambrose Lloyd Owens III, or as we know, Bill. Whereas Ambrose Lloyd Tripp Owens III was born on June 10, 1968, to Ambrose Lloyd Owens Jr. and Candace Bailey Owens, and graduated from Tarboro High School in 1987 before continuing his study at Lewisburg College, Martin College, and earning his nursing degree at Edgecombe Community College in 2008. And whereas Tripp dedicated his professional life to serving the people of Eastern North Carolina, first through Braswell Facility, later as a compassionate registered nurse at Heritage Hospital, where he mentored students from Edgecombe Community College and East Carolina University, calming patients with his trademark greeting, "Hey, Shug," and an uncanny knack for finding shared connections. And whereas Tripp was the first volunteer paramedic in Edgecombe County and rendered selfless aid during the devastating flooding of Hurricane Floyd, exemplifying courage and commitment to public safety. And whereas, as a lifelong member of Calvary Episcopal Church, Tripp served on the brass committee, completed a term on the vestry, and gladly fulfilled his role as head usher. And whereas, beginning at age 15, Tripp was a passionate amateur radio operator, call sign N4NTO, who mentored countless new bands, supported community events, and was participating in Parks on the Air activation at the time of his passing. And whereas Tripp married the love of his life, Joanna Shackelford Owens, on May the 5th, 2001. And together they raised two wonderful children. Simon Lloyd Owens, born on April 1st, 2003, and Sadie Worrell Owens, born May 26, 2005. And whereas Tripp freely gave his time as a T-ball and soccer coach, a Cub Scout Pack 49 volunteer, a frequent chaperone, and an enthusiastic supporter of Simon's golf tournaments and Sadie's FFA livestock projects, letting her paint his nails while affectionately naming turkeys Thanksgiving, Christmas, and my favorite, check. And whereas his hospitality and larger-than-life personality were on full display at Camp Tripp, each 4th of July week at the family cottage, hosting family and friends for supper club and other celebrations, often with his near-legendary Bloody Marys at Tarboro River Bandits games, where he greeted friends with a hug and a big wet kiss. And while timing swimmers in lane 4, he called it the fast lane at Tarboro Swim Club. And whereas Tripp championed public health by encouraging every patient to schedule life-saving colonoscopies, he volunteered radio support at the Edgecombe Cancer Support Foundation's Run for Your Life 5K, in addition to judging applicants for the Braswell Sheffield Scholarship. And whereas his legacy of faith, service, mentorship, and friendship continues to inspire all who knew him and enriches the fabric of the Tarboro community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the mayor and town council of the town of Tarboro, North Carolina, that we honor and celebrate the life of Ambrose Lloyd Owens III, or as we know him as Tripp, and extend our deepest sympathy to his wife Joanna, their children Simon and Sadie, and the entire Owens and Shackelford family, encouraging all citizens to remember and emulate his example of selfless service, adopted this 18th day of August 2025. So long. Very good. Tonight, we also have a proclamation honoring the Tarboro River Bandits for becoming the 2025 Old North State League champions. Whereas the Tarboro River Bandits have brought great pride and distinction to the town of Tarboro by winning the Old North State Championship in the summer of 2025. And whereas this championship reflects the dedication, perseverance, and sportsmanship of Bandits players, coaches, and staff, whose commitment to excellence has inspired young athletes and strengthened community spirit throughout Tarboro and Edgecombe County. And whereas under the leadership of head coach Chris Day, the Bandits demonstrated exceptional teamwork, discipline, and resilience throughout the season, culminating in a championship performance that exemplifies the highest standards of amateur baseball. And whereas owners Wayne and Susan Turnage have faithfully invested their time, resources, and leadership to build a first-class organization in Tarboro. And whereas Allison and Jason Turnage have likewise played a significant role in the club's success and through their tireless support and service, exemplifying family commitment and community-minded stewardship. And whereas the Tarboro River Bandits championship season has generated positive economic impact and social impacts for our community by drawing fans, volunteers, sponsors, and visitors to our town, showcasing Tarboro as a welcoming and vibrant place to live, work, and play. And whereas the town of Tarboro recognizes the Bandits as outstanding ambassadors of our community, embodying teamwork, integrity, and resilience on and off the field. Now, therefore, I, Tate Mayo, Mayor of the town of Tarboro, North Carolina, do hereby recognize and commend the Tarboro River Bandits for their exemplary performance and championship title in the Old North State League during the summer 2025. And I extend heartfelt gratitude to head coach Chris Day, to Wayne, Susan, Allison, and Jason Turnage for their leadership and service to our community. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Tarboro to be affixed this 18th day of August 2025.
I'll let y'all hold it now. It's getting back.
Those of y'all that are here for proclamation, if you'd like to leave now, you're welcome to. If you'd like to stick around, you're welcome to that as well.
You get our shit.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll begin requests and petitions of citizens. Please be mindful that we do have 3 matters scheduled for public hearing. Update the UDO text amendment, the proposed road name change for Anaconda Road, and the evidentiary hearing for Energy Solutions, Storage Solutions. If you have any comments for those public hearings, those will come after our requests and petitions. And in addressing council, please be mindful that you need to state your name, your address, and be mindful of a 5-minute time limit.
Oh, you're only gonna take 1 minute. My name's Lucinda Crowell, 89 Robertson School Road, Tarboro, North Carolina. I am putting on the Hispanic Heritage Festival this year. It's the 3rd annual festival. And every year, I never have to do this. Tina Parker took care of it for me. So I'm here tonight because she's not here. So I would like to ask for continued support from the town, as we did the year before and the year before that. I also would like to ask for support so I don't have to come back every year to see this. So, as long as I put it on, you guys will support it. So I think, I'm not really sure how it works, if the town did it or for the Park and Recs. I do have an application for the Park and Recs that I'm going to turn in on Thursday. I will put an application in a special event for this year as well for the town. But I think the town normally did the stage, the bleachers maybe, I'm not really sure. But I put all of that into the Park and Rec application as well, in case it was on their end. And I brought some save the dates for you guys to look at. There are 2 in Spanish and English.
Thank you. Yes, certainly.
Yeah, and so this year, because the Catholic Church is putting one on in the early parts of September, I have pushed it off to October 4th, because it is still celebrated from September 15th to October 15th. So I made sure that the town wasn't doing anything for Oktoberfest that Saturday, and they said they were not. So that's the reason I chose the October. That's it. Any questions?
Just as a co-sponsor.
Okay, so here's a motion to co-sponsor.
Heritage Festival.
Heritage First.
Second.
Second.
All right, I'm going to give the motion to Councilman Woodard and the second to Councilman Taylor to further discussion.
Yeah.
For co-sponsoring the Hispanic Heritage Month event on October the 4th and in-kind sponsorship. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Y'all have a good night. Yeah. Okay. See.
Is there anyone else that wishes?
My name is Johnny Green. I have this 121 Win Lane, President of Oklahoma. Beautiful tonight to, as I spoke to the manager last month sometime, my parents, that's what needs to do, 18 St. James Street. We got flooded in 99. The corner lot, actually, the town would consider purchasing that lot, 18 St. James Street. Well, no, the lot, numbers about up there, but understand that the town owned all the lots from, Oakland Street. I mean, on St. James, St. James Street, to Wagner Street, the master town, consider purchasing that lot. Also, I'd like to bring greetings from Princeton, Oklahoma. Let you know that, we're still doing the back to school drive, that anyone that is interested in, donating to the kids, back to school for Princeton, Oklahoma, welcome to come to the town of Princeton, to drop a little donation. Thank you much.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, sir.
My name is Sherry Williams. I live at 908 North Main Street in Tarboro. And I just wanted to know what the status is of getting new signs for some of the streets that don't have signs or that you can't read. And I was under the impression that that was a something they were working on.
We all work on that. got our sign machine, new sign machine on the way, it's got some training on it.
Because you're trying to emboss it, so to make it look.
We're not gonna be able to emboss it. Yeah, mimic the
Okay.
design.
All right, okay, because some of the signs you can't read. Yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, so this.
Amen. Council. Bryce Knight, the 1112 Edmondson Avenue, Tarboro, North Carolina. Just a couple of quick inquiries. Just recently, my 92-year-old mother received I guess, a grass limb ordinance. And at her age and her sight, she wasn't able to pretty much discern what it was, but it frightened her because she thought that she had gotten a bill or was going to get a bill for $275 because of the length of the grass. And I'm sure that everyone here knows that for the past maybe 3, possibly 4 weeks, it has rained virtually every day. And fortunately, I'm there to try and mitigate the growth of the grass, but with it raining, you can't really get out there and cut the grass. What I'm inquiring about, is there any kind of, I guess, mitigating circumstances to that code that takes into consideration of that, the age of the people who perhaps live in the community and the grass growth? And if so, can that be entered into the assessment process of it? And also I called to find out about, what might could be done with the assessor. And he informed me that he is the only one for the entire town of Tarboro. So by the time he checks one side of Tarboro and gets back to the other side, it's possibly that the grass will be grown up again. And then there could be that $275 fine or bill coming. So 1, is there any mitigating circumstances to the code? 2, is there anything that can be done to, I guess, help the young man who is the assessor out if he's the only person in the town that actually does that?
A couple of things, I guess. First, if you received a notice, you're given 10 days to come to compliance. After you receive the notice, you're not assessed anything unless we actually go to mitigate. So if we go after that 10 days that it's still tall and we cut it, then you're assessed the cost and penalty for that. I would just suggest anybody, if you feel a letter like that, call the number on there, which is our code enforcement officer, and he can work with you. If there's extenuating circumstances.
I did that exactly, and the young man that I guess is the coordinator or assessor told me that there was nothing to do. It was out of his hand. It was dead or left. There was no discussion. It would have to be cut and subsequently charged to the homeowner. I understood that, but it's just that my mother did. And perhaps there are other elderly people in the neighborhood who might have gotten that same letter that might not understand it too. And that's why I was asking about possibly mitigating circumstances to kind of adjust that.
They would just have to talk to them on case by case. We'll set them out with no age or anything.
And is there any consideration for adding other personnel to that position?
Not at this time.
I would say also that you can call your council person to be involved in an issue like that as well.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Knight.
Is there anyone else this evening that would like to petition or speak to the council? Hearing none, we will move on to the matter scheduled for public hearing. The first matter scheduled for public hearing is the UDO text amendment 25-01. The public hearing will be held to consider the following modifications to the Unified Development Ordinance as recommended by staff, including non-residential setbacks, the permitted use table, and the standards related to the same. The Unified Development Ordinance is a living document which should be updated and modified to keep current with planning trends, state legislature, and recommendations. It is recommended that council adopt the resolution approving the ordinance. This public hearing will be held to consider changes to the Unified Development Ordinance as recommended by town staff to include non-residential setbacks, the permitted use table, and the standards relating to the same. Unified Development Ordinance is a living document which be updated and modified to keep current with planning trends in state legislature and recommendations. Notice of this public hearing has appeared in the local newspaper. I declare this public hearing open. I would like to call Ms. Catherine Grimm to give us some background information on the UDO text amendment.
Good evening. Y'all have seen me more than a few times over the last few years for this Unified Development Ordinance, and it will continue to do so as long as the legislature changes things, planning trends change, and we notice things in our own area that may need to be updated. And the first thing I'll draw your attention to is the table of non-residential development standards. That is essentially the setbacks. It's mainly what we're looking at, how far a building can be placed from the edge of the lot. To be quite honest with you, the table that was done in the 2020 update is not great. There's a little bit of confusion as far as exterior setbacks, and some of those didn't really take into consideration a lot of our existing infill lots. The distances were a little too far to be able to view some of our infill lots and not work within those setbacks. Because of the way the UDO and intent of the zoning ordinances in North Carolina are, those setbacks aren't something that are flexible unless it's outlined somewhere else in the ordinance. So it's better to have some flexibility in that table to work with instead of trying to come back and ask for a variance or ask for a text amendment to handle that later. So that table is cleaning up some things and making them more constant with the current trends and what our layout looks like in Tarboro itself. The next thing we're looking at specifically is the permitted use table. I'll run through some of the overall changes. The ones that have been outlined in red, some of those are clarifications. There have been some changes over the years in definitions of manufactured homes. I wanted to ensure that we allowed modulars in the same areas that we allow stick-built housing. That's something that was changed at the building code level years ago. We're trying to be consistent with that same definition and language with our home ordinance. There is a change in the GR10 and ONI for multifamily to be permitted with standards. And then there are some standards that are outlined further in the ordinance, and I'll get to that, supplementary standards. Those standards are things that we had talked about previously in council specific to those uses. I'll highlight again in the table itself, the little definitions at the top. P is for permitted, PS is permitted with standards. Those standards are outlined within this document and are reviewed by staff to ensure they're complied with. And then SUP is special use permit, which comes before council. We have added a couple of those in there, such as tiny home development. That's something that staff has been asked over the years. There are a couple of lots where it makes sense to have two smaller homes on, perhaps, instead of a larger home and a smaller accessory dwelling. Perhaps a development that has shared driveways and a couple of those. There are some standards that we listed in that ordinance. But that way, if somebody wanted to have a couple of those on one lot in an area where it made sense and there was enough spacing to do so, it just wasn't addressed anywhere else in our ordinance. We did change halfway houses to be a special use permit in some of those areas where it previously hadn't been. And then there are some changes to emergency shelter definitions. There were some changes done in the 2021 update and some subsequent amendments. Part of the issue we dealt with Unicode over the years is some of those amendments have not made it into the full document of the permitted use table, and then those supplementary use standards that go along. So the entirety of the pages you can see before you, the majority of that is included because I had to go back and manually type the entirety of the document to make sure it included every single amendment since 2020 in that document itself. Some of those definitions that we had previously adopted to match state building code and other common language had not been incorporated into the permitted use table. So I'm going to make sure those were included. We did add funeral homes into light and heavy industrial. That's one of those things over the years that we just noticed had been a request and asked. And then changing a couple of things like bin and overstock to be allowed in heavy industrial, general commercial, some of those things permitted. And we did clarify that indoor amusement, and theaters are allowed, in some of the other commercial districts. Those had previously, been excluded. And then some outdoor recreation facility, that's under civic. If you go down to outdoor recreation facility, that's things such as parks. So it could be something small, like just a neighborhood corner, or it could be something like a racetrack, or, not leaf bars necessarily, but something local. That had been included in either residential areas, so I did want to make sure that was included. Should a park needs to be, somewhere like that. Other changes that are notable, light industry and heavy industry, we do allow vehicle renting, leasing, and sales. We do have some of our light and heavy industrial that is in areas that are conducive to that, so that was something we added that in there. And then a couple other things permitted with standards now are outdoor kennels. So those are just some of the highlights on that permitted use table. In the actual text itself, we added a section for accessory uses. They are defined in our video, but not incredibly clearly. So I went back to pull some language that was previously in the ordinance for accessory uses. That classifies kind of secondary use. So, for example, if you have a primary use on a lot, you may have a secondary use that's, for example, you might have a pottery studio as a main thing, but then you also have maybe a dance studio that meets. Sometimes those accessory uses are the same exact zoning. Sometimes they fall in the same category. Sometimes they're different. That accessory use definition allows the staff to be able to make sure that those are clarified, depending on what's the main use of that. The other thing I wanted to make sure, there are some sections in supplementary use standards where we added those from what may have been supplementary use standard to just permitted with standards for staff. If there aren't any specific ones, I did want to make sure there has been added a notation under the permitted use table. The listed use is permitted by right in the corresponding zoning district, with supplemental use standards as defined in Chapter 3 of this ordinance. If no specific standards are included in Chapter 3, the use is subject to a site plan and/or staff review applications as necessary to determine ordinance compliance. So that just makes sure that anything that doesn't necessarily have a separate site review or separate staff review would then ensure that whether there's maybe looks like there's something parking that needs to be complied with, or maybe a signage issue, that has another level of staff review just to make sure there might not be a separate list of standards for that use. All the other standards in our Unified Development Ordinance, such as parking regulations and so forth, would be reviewed at staff level. In the special use permit section itself, some of the major changes would be under multifamily dwellings. We have added in there commercial site plan related documentation. Stormwater pond must be enclosed by a fence of 8 feet. 20 units or more would require on-site management. And then in the GR10 and O&I districts, setbacks would be 30 feet on the sides. Buffers type A, which is currently already in the ordinance, but we're retaining that. And then an 8-foot fence around the bounds of the project. So those are some things that we had previously in the ordinance prior to 2020, and then council's talked about at length. We want to make sure those are included in this. Again, some other things like under 3.2.5, tiny home development, 3.4.3 through approximately 3.4.12 are those uses that were added in the previous amendment that weren't defined clearly in the permitted use table and the definitions like congregate care, retirement, and then some of those other group housing that are further defined in Chapter 17 of those definitions. Yes, sir.
Quick question. I heard you mention tiny home.
Councilman, I've got Councilman Brown's, I'm sorry, he the questions. You can go ahead, please. Sure.
Okay.
That's good.
Sure, it's fine. I say those are some of the main ones I was looking to see, any of my highlighted ones that I could go through. Those are really, yeah, what things you do.
Can you define You know, last evening, on last evening.
Sure. Let me see if I have them in the back of this document. If I don't, we can pull the. Pages I'm working with there, but there's one that's got the definitions and one that doesn't. Frank, can you find it off the top of your head?
Class B is anything go after June 15th, 1976. Class A is prior.
That's like with the hood, modular, it was staying on those standards. It had to pretty much you stick to what happens.
Yeah, so, and I'll just make sure, I don't know if, I'll probably figure that first. So class A, is typically modular. So it's similar to stick built and how it's, we regulate it, and how it's allowed. Sometimes HOA and other things can not allow modular, but not at the town level. Class B is manufactured homes. They'll have some type of, usually a number associated with it. And then anything, before 1976 is class C, and those can be disallowed because they don't meet those standards.
Class A is one that doesn't have a past, chassis.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Simple.
Well, it's not a chassis,
It
but
can
it
be
can
all frame
be.
or R frame, but the standard things need to be the same.
Yeah, it can be on frame,
It can be all frame.
but not necessarily a drivable chassis like you would think of. It's not one that could be permitted as in personal property compared to housing. Yes, sir.
You mentioned tiny home. Where are we allowing, or would we allow tiny homes to be built within the town?
Sure. So that's a dual-edged question. I say because I want to clarify, in the permitted use table, we do have the permitted with standards for tiny home development in rural district and GR10. Rural district is our more rural areas, more open space. GR10 is our higher density areas. The tiny home development is meant to be if there's more than one tiny home. Within the town of Tarboro, it goes back to what building code is. So sometimes tiny home can be a misnomer. There are requirements for building code on certain size of ceiling height, how many square feet you have to have per, I think it's kitchen and bathroom. But we can't actually regulate the size of a house within it. So tiny home can be misleading depending on definition.
Or specifically what I'm asking, established neighborhoods,
Yes.
like State Parks, Austin Town, Brentwood, and we're not saying that tiny homes can be put on lots within those established neighborhoods.
As it stands now, the town legally can't prevent someone from building a small home. So if you're asking if someone could place something that's brought in as a tiny home and built on a chassis and put there, that really just depends on whether it meets building code or not. It would have to be on a permanent foundation. If it was.
I'm talking about tiny homes, I'm talking about like at the mill and Rising. Those tiny homes that they have in the back of the mill there, that people come in and stay for it.
Right,
I understand a smaller home.
right.
Everybody's not gonna build a 2,500 to 5,000 square foot house.
Sure.
But I'm wondering how do we protect homeowners in a situation where they've got that size house and somebody comes on a vacant lot and builds two tiny houses. I hope we're not doing that.
So the only place where that would be allowed is in existing GR10 or rural district. So GR10 are some of our more dense areas within town. It would if they were putting more than one, but it would have to meet all the other setbacks and regulations.
None of those subdivisions you mentioned are GR2. They're all.
GR3.
That's considered the same thing.
Been further, Councilman Taylor?
No, sir.
Councilman Anderson?
Yeah, I had a question about the alcohol recreation.
Sure.
Standards, think about recreational vehicle hookup stations with coffee other regular. Forgive me, this is really like bounce back.
Sure. So I have it printed out instead of on the screen. I'm old enough that I still need my paper copies.
That's gonna be permitted with standards going forward. Everywhere, yes.
So, so yes, if permitted by staff, that would be, you would have to go through, a site plan hookup. Most outdoor recreation facilities, and I'll read it for the, what the definition of that. Right. Sure. So let me read for, so currently the definition of recreation facility, outdoor recreation facility, parks and other open space used for active or passive recreation, such as ball fields, batting cages, skateboard parks, playgrounds, greenway trails, driving ranges, tennis courts, riding stables, campgrounds, golf courses, and their customary accessory uses, including but not limited to maintenance sheds, clubhouses, with and without food service, pools, restrooms, and picnic shelters. The definition is inclusive of both nonprofit and for-profit operations. I can understand the hesitation there. I think if council has kind of concern about RVs being placed in that, that could be added. RVs to be added as a separate permitted use and be only allowed in specific zoning areas. That way it's outside of outdoor recreation.
Yeah, I was permanent interpretation of what you want to take that be like yeah, like a KMA, well, that would have to be we would clarify.
There is, as I say, there is the definition for and of course now I'm flipping, I have my definitions right, different class A, B, and C. So if you need me to read the paragraphs, I'll be glad to. I'm flipping too far. Campgrounds is one of the ones that we had talked about previously on the staff level for some of the RD areas, perhaps along the river. So for something like that, that would be maybe appropriate, like the KOA, and wouldn't necessarily need. We only have 2 areas that are zoned for mobile home parks, which are the existing 2 mobile home parks anymore. So currently there's nowhere to do any type of RV park outside of the. If we do it as a campground under outdoor recreation, so that could be an additional permitted use that was specifically added to the ordinance in rural districts. Sure.
Councilman Bottom?
I thought I had tried it. But let me ask you, give an example of GRT.
So GR10 is for example, the areas of East Tarboro, some of our smaller lots that are there. And then also, as I'll point, I know you can't read the individual streets, but the areas that are brown on the map here. So there is a little bit around Northgate at the very top. Some of our areas that are basically the areas that were once the mills, the mill village areas that are the smaller lots. It was just more densely developed at the time. And then also along St. James and the streets that could go off that way. So it's our more dense, smaller lots that are there.
There used to be shotgun houses started to. Yeah, so they're in the street today, so.
That's all about. Mr. Newton, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the text amendment? Hearing none. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the text amendment? Seeing none.
Just a question for clarification. If it's the will of the board, y'all would like to put into a motion to add the RVs, a specific one is committed to RV, if you add that as a motion to this.
Right, Councilman Anderson has made a motion to add RVs and ID,
And second.
seconded by Councilwoman Biden. So further discussion.
Yes, to put it back with. Always, make the motion for I couldn't hear some of the conversation.
I'll answer it. So currently, the permitted use tables that were recommended for changes included outdoor recreation, adding that to all of the districts to include residential. Right now, if somebody wanted to build a neighborhood and put a park in, it doesn't explicitly say that to do that, even though we were not ordinance, maybe to have some type of open recreation area, or if somebody wanted to redevelop and open lots, and something, it doesn't currently provide for that. So staff's intention was to allow for open recreation area, park area, baseball field, something like that in a residential area and other districts in town. However, that also kind of lends itself by definition to RV camping, RV parks. And so to differentiate between that, staff's recommendation, and I believe the motion that was made was to make RV park be a separate permitted use and specifically allow that only in rural districts, so that the other parks within town would not allow an RV park, but they could be allowed in the rural district.
All right, so the motion made by Councilman Anderson and seconded by Councilman Biden was to have RVs separately listed for rural development. Is that correct? Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Henry, would that require us to go back to speaking in favor and speaking against the amended?
Yes, sir, until you close the hearing.
Yes. All right, so we will reopen this. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the text amendment as amended? Seeing and hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak against the text amendment as amended? Seeing and hearing none, I declare this public hearing closed. You have before you a resolution to approve the proposed text amendment and a resolution to deny the proposed text amendment. It would be appropriate at this time for a council member to make a motion to adopt one of these resolutions.
I make a motion that you adopt the text amendment 35 that you.
All right. Councilwoman Jordan is second. Councilman Brown's motion to adopt as amended. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. The purpose of this public hearing, and this is the second public hearing, is to gather public input on a proposal to rename Anaconda Road to Ellis Parkway. The proposed change is intended to demonstrate the community's support for Ellis Cable and Systems USA Incorporated and enhance the efforts to attract additional investment by aligning with other Ellis locations. Notice of this public hearing has appeared in the local newspaper. I declare this public hearing open. I would like to call Mr. Troy Lewis to give us some background information on the proposed road name change.
Sure. In addition to, what you just read, Mayor, we've been approached by NS, Cable and System USA, about a potential new project that could be done with some additional investment, LS in Tarboro. Individuals that are planning to believe that support the road name change could go to the ties that project's come to the Tarboro location as opposed to other locations. So that's why we're doing this process. In addition to those that are in favor, also notified the property street. And I do have some feedback, some that we can get into. Yeah, that's essentially what we got here. And that's in the council and stuff. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
All right. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of renaming Anaconda Road to LS Parkway?
Evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Bobby Piner. I'm the Operations Manager at LS Cable. Just to give a little bit of personal information about the proposal. After my enlistment in the Marine Corps, I joined Superior Essex, which was the name of the cable factory prior to LS Cable, back in 2006. So I'm working on my 19th year with the company. We went through some tough times. There in the mid-2000s, as everyone's got a cell phone now, and nobody really gets telephone lines in their home anymore. Our telephone business was on the decline. Our factory was on the verge of closing. We were going to, shutter the plant and lose hundreds of jobs. LS Cable purchased Superior Essex in 2008. We revamped our product line. We're making energy cables now, utility business, and our business is booming. And we want to continue growing our jobs for support of the local community here in Tarboro and continue expanding over the next 10, 20, 30, 50 more years plus. Anaconda Cable was the original cable manufacturer. That road was built for Anaconda Cable back in 1965. So we want to carry on that tradition for LS Cable for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piner.
Evening, Council. Robert Pike, Carolina's Gateway Partnership. We're responsible for economic development in the region. We just want to voice our support for this change in name because of the fact that in projects like this, not only they're wanting to come here, but they're also looking at other sites. And in particular, in this site, we're under the impression that we're in competition with Virginia. And these are typical requests for these type of projects, along with other incentives. And that's something that, again, reiterates the fact that LS Cable has been such a wonderful corporate citizen in this community. Will continue to add property tax in addition to jobs. And that's something that is all needed on all the activities that is done by the town in addition to the county. For school teachers, law enforcement, et cetera. So I definitely would encourage to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of renaming Anaconda Road to LS Parkway? Hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak against renaming Anaconda Road to LS Parkway? And this is, of course, anybody comes forward and welcome to. I did hear directly from 5 different property owners on Anaconda Road, and each of them was not in favor of the change. Some of the concerns that they expressed were, well, of course, the cost and effort of having to change their address forward, as well as concerns that the facility has changed a few times over the years since we have been with them on the site, and they're concerned, of course, what happens if it changes again going forward. So they want to pass those along from that I heard. Well, I'd like to know.
I would like to, Councilman, those are. Sure, I can tell you, so I heard from Miss Jean Harrell, that lives on the road. Mr. Greg Whitehurst, who owns a business, as in the middle one, we own Burke and Brett Nash, Nash, Steve Williams, Lady Lane Duffy Bailey, who live on the road, and Lindsay Stroud, who was speaking on behalf of his parents.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak against renaming Anaconda Road to Ellis Park? Seeing and hearing none, I declare this public hearing closed. It would be appropriate for some member of council to make a motion to approve or deny the renaming of Anaconda Road to Ellis Park.
You have topic for discuss.
Yes, sir.
I guess my concern, the only one being, the purpose of this is to show our continued support and commitment for all us, which are obviously thankful, to have it business here in town, but the address change.
I think we can make the motion then have the discussion. Well, I would like to
Unless you have.
unless you definitely want to have another one. Giving council manager the floor.
Councilman Anderson, may continue.
My only concern is signage to this business marketers, that's reprogramming, kind of either programs they utilize your address. It appears to exist on businesses in town. Is there anything that can be offered as a potential, I guess, is this going to incentivize LS to expand? It's going to make a great deal. It's one of those things. This is not fair that all that's probably not key, but still I can't speak to that.
Sure. So we have been in discussion with our CEO, and LS Cable is willing to support the bear the burden of some of this cost for the businesses on the road. If we could just get an idea of, how much that, cost is for each company. We're currently in discussions for that right now.
And that's also really nice. Yes.
And I would point out it's appropriate to do that now. Some of the discussions, if they knew that this big investment was coming and this thing were absolutely going to happen, then maybe you'd know some support on it. So it could be a potential subject to the next phase.
We're gonna have to change our sign and ensure all of our documents as well.
Councilman Anderson, anything further? Councilman Jordan, I've got Councilman Taylor. Anything, Councilman? Anything further?
I guess my mission would be to do it. What I said, but that is mission.
There's a motion on the table contingent on extension. Second. Councilman Hitt is seconded. Motion, Councilman motion. Is there further discussion, Councilman Hitt?
Two questions. One, the manager, one from the school. The first I have for the manager is, did the sheriff's department make any or comment in regard to this?
In fact, I think Mr. Pike, you had a discussion with the chair. Jerry's not
By no means will I speak for the sheriff, but we did have a discussion and talked about the opportunities and realizing the opportunity we had. Financial, or just growth. But it is a challenge, and I think to your point, the offer that's being made, that will help the county as well to cost. Yeah, it's frustrating, it would be, but yeah, there's a great offset for that. The sheriff has been talked to. I did not personally get any major pushback. But like I say, I'm not going to speak for the sheriff.
The question I have from Mr. Finer is very, very simple. I've been with a couple of different corporations in my career that were both bought. And one that actually changed the name of the highway development, and then it was bought and no longer exists there. So the question is, would LS Cable be bought today and the name change again?
No, sir. LS Cable is a privately held company. They are currently investing a multi-billion-dollar investment in Chesapeake, Virginia, for a submarine cable facility. And there are multi-million-dollar investment plans for our site here in Tarboro as well.
So the question I have is, could somebody offer enough money to buy LS Cable?
I would have to, I'm not able to respond to that question. But in all the meetings I've been privy to and discussions with our ownership, LS Cable is not presented.
I know it's not today. I know it's not today, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time. But I'm saying it's privately owned, so the owners of the business could sell it if the right offer was made. They could sell it if the right offer was made.
Sure.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
One thing that probably needs to be clarified, I guess, the contingency of that offer. Of course, Ellis is already committed to a $20+ million expansion currently at the facility. I think the next project is what we're incentivized, which is somewhere around $400 million facility. So I guess it would need to be what triggers that next phase. Of a $20 million expansion, or is it maybe $400 million?
What the first thing again?
Now, Ellis is already committed to an expansion, so they're going to expand currently to the tune of about $20 million. Sorry if I didn't respond. But I think this was to incentivize hopefully that the next project in the neighborhood of $400 million.
Okay.
Councilwoman Jordan?
So, the contingency, would that be, how would that look?
So I guess that's my question for clarification.
Right.
Is it only if we do this next project, or if they come with a $100 million expansion, would that be enough for the next step?
So, I believe there's one of those, that's one page, we have seriously. But it was
The ones that reached out to me, yes.
Or businesses.
So.
Anything further? Councilwoman Dodson?
My question is, with the next project.
Councilwoman Jordan, I'm sorry.
We'll go quick. Okay, so the next project you have coming, will you say that if you do not agree with this, you'll come with it? We need to.
I can't answer that.
You could use it. Can I answer?
No. Anything further? All right, Councilman Bratton?
You know, ask you to give me a scope for the big project and the employment opportunities that go along with it. If it's
Sure. So briefly, next year for 2026, we do have a $20 million expansion that's already approved. We'll be adding additional manufacturing lines into the tower at 29 as an expansion. That's going to move our production facility with an increase of about 30%. So it's going to take about that many more jobs. And we're currently roughly around close to 300 total employees there. So we're going to see an employment spike next year just on the additional expansion that's already approved. The large expansion consists of 2 additional factories moving onto a site which would be a new address 2701, currently Anaconda Road, for some raw material manufacturing for copper rod that would service our facility. That's the raw material that we use to make our energy cable, and they would also supply the copper rod to the Chesapeake, Virginia plant as well. So that's the purpose of that expansion. 400 million, it's probably a couple of hundred more jobs.
I'd like to make a amendment to the motion that it be full 400 million addition.
So we'd like to amend Councilman Anderson's motion. For, maybe for clarification.
I think it's just clarification.
That's what I'm for clarification. What are we actually saying? So, because you raised the question
as to what we're talking about. So I want to raise the same question. We're talking about the $400 million project.
I'll clarify my motion. If that makes it more clear.
So we're not talking about what they already had in the pipeline. We're talking about this new addition. And of course, I did, you guess to me, I want to have to hear about that.
Okay. Mr. Head, so for clarity, there is an amendment to the existing motion on the approval.
I just clarify. So you restated his motion, or does Mr. Pitt second the motion that's restated done?
Okay. Mr. Pitt is the second still in place for that motion. And Councilman Brown's was. All right, thank you. All right, Councilman Evans.
One final question. And I'm not sure if this is what was finally asked earlier, I couldn't hear that either, but if this is not approved, the name change, does that mean you will not do the expansion? That's a fair question. If we don't change the name of the road, y'all can take the business somewhere else.
It's a fair question. I can't believe, again, I'm not the decision maker in this question, but I cannot believe the name of the road is going to prohibit a $400 million investment by a company. You know better than I do.
You know what it's on the road?
I do not.
But there are some people that do that apparently feel that is the case. But I'm all for roads to the town of Tarboro. There's no question of that. And I don't mean to be sound negative to all this that could come to Tarboro, but I will say it is in my ward. The people that are opposed to it are my constituents, and so that's why I had that question. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm gonna ask you now, because.
Can I talk? Can I speak?
Councilwoman, ma'am, Councilman Woodard has.
I have not spoken on the subject, you know, it's sort of rotate this thing.
Yeah.
Councilman Woodard, you have the floor.
Well, this was a lead into what our point. Your question was, this thing, not the $400 million, if we didn't do the next thing. Now, let's reverse that. Are we actually saying that we could get $400 million just by saying the name? That's what I want to say. I wouldn't make that kind of business decision if I was sitting as an investor on it. So, and there's also a possibility that somewhere else they could agree to change the name. You know, Chesapeake could say, okay, we'll change the name to this. So I think the motion that we have is sufficient. That if we do, they would be willing to change the name. If we get the $400 million, I think that's appropriate. But I'm
All right. Thank you, Councilman Woodard. Councilman Pitt, then Councilman Jordan, that's in order.
I was just curious, do you know if the site in Virginia changed their name to Atlas Cable?
They did.
Oh, okay.
Can I rescind my motion? And after she speaks, I'm called.
No, I'd like to recognize that Dr. McLeod from Ashland Community College is sitting in the audience, and I would like to know, do you utilize this manufacturing program to hire staff for your company?
So in the audience, we have our Director of Human Resources, Van Smith, and Felicia Williams. We work very closely with Dr. McLeod in the college to perform training for us, assist us with hiring. So we have a very close relationship with them here at the college.
Thank you, that's important.
Anything further? No. All right, Councilman Anderson.
Oh. I'd like, do you know what the timeline is for y'all announcing this project?
I do not have the exact dates of the project. So the facility is being built in Chesapeake, the larger site, is supposed to be online in 2027. So one of these sites we're discussing coming here would be feeding that site with raw materials. So it would need to be online prior to the facility in Chesapeake going online. So 26, 27 is what we're talking about.
I motion that we do approve the name change and choose out the 2027, might bring it back. Change the name also. So that doesn't have to be in writing, but we just do the name change because then we change.
So, Mr. Hampton, there was a
I'm
motion.
ready
and a
for
second.
you. I don't know what's going on.
I need.
What's going on? You got a motion before the floor.
Yes.
You are withdrawing your motion. Can you use that microphone? I can't hear you.
Sorry.
Go ahead and repeat it.
I'm withdrawing the motion.
You withdraw your motion, Councilman Brown?
I'll make the motion that we will adopt a name change to Intercontinental to LS Cable if that $400 million plant comes to Intercontinental.
That's the exact motion, which is that.
He was
Yes, sir. Okay.
I second.
And Councilman Jordan is second. All right, is there further discussion? Well, I would just say, our partners with Carolina Gateway Partnership and town staff, we're going to continue to work with LS to make sure we put the best case forward to get that.
I hate to talk about here, but one other note, LS Tractor is a sister company, so it's a regional company for us here in Neshonoka County, and the total footprint, they just completed a major expansion last summer over at the Whitaker's Park, over by, where Cheesecake Factory operation is
They
located.
basically doubled their plant space.
Parent company is LG. If you
Yeah,
go
so-
to LG TV, so that tells you the magnitude.
So that's how to think about it. Mr. Taylor's earlier comment, yes, businesses are bought and sold every day and their names change. Can't predict the future, but we can live in past history. The company was established in the early 1960s by one family. It has not changed hands since. It's also LG Electronics products as well. So it's a very large company.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. So there's a motion on the floor made by Councilman Brown to change the name contingent on the further investment coming. That was seconded by Councilwoman Jordan. So further discussion. Yes. All right, all those in favor? Question has been called.
I second.
Councilman Woodard is seconded. The call the question. All those in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to calling the question? All right, that forces the vote. Question has been called. All those in favor of renaming Anaconda Road to Ellis Parkway contingent on further investment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Councilwoman Bowman is opposed. Everyone else is not. Council has spoken. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you. All right.
Listen, I would like to ask a question. That name change in Virginia, was that done after the investment? You see what I'm saying? That's why I say the thing was, like, we are trying to do, after we get cut from this.
I think we can live together.
All right. Thank you. We're now moving on to our third public hearing, which is a special use permit number 25-02. An evidentiary hearing will be held to consider a special use permit submitted by Energy Storage Solutions LLC for the proposed development of a data center energy storage system. This property is located on the south side of Anaconda Road between Air Road and Western Boulevard.
approximately 52.185 acres within the HI heavy industrial zone district. So to begin, we now open the evidentiary hearing for the Energy Storage Solutions LLC special use permit 25-2. The applicants have requested the proposed development of a data center and energy storage system of approximately 52.185 acres on the south side of Anaconda Road between McNair Road and Western Boulevard. I will now call on our attorney to give us an overview of the process of the hearing for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This hearing is a bit different from the previous two. This is a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing. It means it is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how the board must decide. These rules are different from other types of land use decisions like rezoning and UDO. The chair of the board will follow procedure during this hearing, beginning with closure by counsel, ex parte communications and explanations of standing and witness testimony. The board's discretion is limited. The board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi-judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards set into regulations and based on the facts presented. After considering the evidence, the decision will be made by counsel by a simple majority vote of the board. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not a personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited in this hearing. This meeting is open to the public, and everyone is welcome to watch. Parties with standing have the right to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Parties are limited to the applicant, the local government, and individuals who show they will suffer special damages. Other individuals may serve as witnesses when called by the board. General witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, this board needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts on increased traffic. Individuals providing expert opinion must be qualified as experts and provide factual evidence upon which to base their expert opinion. Witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony. At this time, we will administer the oath to all individuals who intend to provide witness testimony. Madam Clerk?
If anyone's intending to speak, must know.
Anyone that's with, who's established themselves as a party to speak, you need to be sworn in.
If you don't speak, you're still got to be sworn.
Say that again.
Anybody wishing to speak in opposition at all? As much as possible. If you have standing, you could swear in to speak. Which means if you know Jason, you should keep it silent.
Obviously, I'm praying for everyone to place their hand on the Bible, but if you would place your left hand this way and raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I'm gonna need everyone to write their name down. When you come up and speak, this is all mine.
Mr. Edmonds, this is appropriate. Okay. If y'all can place those up, still have to get through. Yeah, I'll just tell him, if you decide you would like to think it's something, before you leave at that time, you decide. You can just place those up there. We're not letting you get it. Y'all can just put those up there. You still have to get the disclosure. Y'all can place any information added, you place it in front of you. We still have to get through disclosures. Councilwoman Bowden, Councilman. Okay. Okay. The parties to this case are entitled to an impartial board. A board member may not participate in this hearing if she or he has a fixed opinion about the matter, financial interest in the outcome of the matter, or a close relationship with an affected person. Does any board member have any partiality to disclose and refusal to offer? Hearing none. The parties in this case have rights for any ex parte communications to be disclosed. Ex parte communication is any communication about the case outside of the hearing. That may include site visits as well as conversations with party staff or the general public. Does any board member have any site visits to disclose? Hearing none, does any board member have any conversations or other communications to disclose? Councilman Brown.
Yes, Boyd and conversation with Catherine. Also about this project. The details are very limited. There's back there for checking on any information you know, sort of things to present.
Councilman Taylor.
I received a phone call this morning from one of the residents, explaining to me that she was out of town. She could not be here for the hearing, but she was opposed, and I told her, of course, that our conversation had to be very, very limited because of the hearing that we were on. I do believe she made me aware that she had left a message for Mr. Grimm. I didn't inform Mr. Grimm she had gotten that message, but again, our discussion was no more than her telling me that she was not in favor. And I said, well, I appreciate your call. I'm sorry. That's so true. The ins and outs of this project itself that we do not discuss.
Any other board member had any other conversations or communications disclosed? We'll say that I was contacted by a loose relationship of a family friend with somebody from the Atlanta office of Marco. I told him I couldn't discuss the case. I was contacted by the Triangle Business Journal. Told him I could not discuss the case. Several communications cannot discuss the case, aside from saying that it's a special use permit. Okay. Any further ex parte communications? Based on the disclosures we've heard from the board concerning partiality and ex parte communications, does any member of the board or any party to this matter have an objection to a board member's participation in this hearing? All right, the planning director, Catherine Grimm, will introduce this hearing. Before you start, please confirm your sworn at the start of the meeting. Write your name on it.
And yes,
Thank you.
And bear with me, I gotta bring a box. These exhibits in the record.
What Ms. Grimm's presenting will take now, the applicant, we can take theirs after.
As indicated in the hearing, prior to this meeting, the council provided the same materials provided to the planning board, including the application, the proposal, the site plan, the staff report, section of the Tarboro land use plan, area map, and list of public notices made. Included in these exhibits I've handed you are documents that were included in your agenda, including the previously mentioned items. A letter given to staff by Ms. Jordan, who Mr. Taylor referenced earlier, that was given to staff today. I did speak with her and let her know council will be given a copy of that, as well as an updated site plan that will be presented to you tonight by the applicant. The applicant proposes to develop a data center and energy storage system on a 52-acre parcel located on the south side of Anaconda Road between McNair Road and Western Boulevard. This parcel is zoned heavy industrial. For notice provided, letters were mailed to property owners within 100 feet of the location by first class mail by August 8th, and these addresses are included in your packet. Published notices were placed on the Rocky Mount Telegram on August 8th and August 15th. Signs were also placed on August 8th. As far as applicable standards, there are a few things. This is one of those areas that a special use permit is required for utility. One of the requirements in there is a 100-foot distance from property line to buildings and equipment. I do want to reiterate that this is a special use permit because of the nature of the use. A commercial site plan with a full site plan checklist, and I'll go through some of those things, will be done at a staff level review prior to them being able to do any work. So there's a whole nother level of local, state, and likely federal permitting that will have to be obtained before this project can break ground. Some of those things include division of air quality, division of environmental quality, stormwater review, building plans, and building permits, and then I'll go through the commercial site plan as far as some of those checklists. No, that has been some of the questions. Some of those things that will be part of a secondary submittal, should this be approved by council, include all of the natural features, topography, existing man-made features, any existing utilities near the site, and then anything that will be added to it, such as specific utility lines, fire hydrants, buildings, structures, exterior light fixture locations, any legal features as far as property zoning, lines, dimensions, property right-of-ways, and then any proposed changes, which include square footage of development, location and dimensions of buildings, setbacks, side elevations for those buildings, open space, which there isn't any required for this. It's not a park like a residential would be. Curbs, gutters, curb inlets, drainage, stormwater, sidewalks, any type of road dimensions, any outdoor illumination, underground utility lines, water, sewer, and above ground, and any of the things that may be included in addition to that, such as certification from appropriate agencies that proposed utility systems will be able to handle the proposed development, and necessary easements will be provided. Any written evidence that's needed for some of that documentation. Should there be any environmental impacts, that will also be done at a state permitted level. Anything that will be required from NCDOT. So those are things that will all be addressed on a commercial site plan. What council is asked to look at now is specific for this site, and any conditions that may need to be placed on that permit itself. As far as staff analysis, it is properly zoned for heavy industrial. And we refer to the land use plan reference that was included with the staff report to planning board. It was included in that document. So as far as the language from the land use plan, the Tarboro adopted in 2008, for industrial development, it was to encourage the type of industrial development that is consistent with the town's present diversified manufacturing base, preserve adequate land for future industrial development, continue to promote existing industrial sites with existing infrastructure. Land classified as industrial is intended to represent intensive commercial, warehousing, assembly, and general manufacturing land uses, as well as adjoining vacant land, which would be a logical extension of the existing industrial areas. The primary objectives of the industrial land development classification are to provide adequate land to accommodate existing and anticipated intensive commercial and general manufacturing uses, preserve sites that are best suited for industrial development, and exclude some major retail establishments and residences as uses in identified industrial areas. So as far as zoning, that's what we were looking at as far as industrial zoning and what's allowed there. As far as capacity, that is something that will be discussed during this presentation. And again, something that would be verified once the details are in place on that site plan itself. And then the site plan checklist will go along with that. As far as compliance, the applicant is in compliance with the land use ordinance for the Unified Development Ordinance. We would ensure there's some blocking as far as the landscaping plan and setbacks on those. Again, those are in compliance, but we'll ensure that once the exact building outlines are determined on that those are in compliance as well. There are some recommended conditions from staff. That's on the second page of the packet I just handed you for conditions that staff would recommend to council. Some noise buffering fencing to be placed along the property line. I know noise is one of the concerns of staff, and a decibel level could be discussed. Downlighting is recommended in our Unified Development Ordinance to prevent any issues for adjacent properties. It does address that some. Council could be specific in ensuring that lighting does not go onto neighboring properties. And we also recommend an emergency operations plan to be submitted along with the commercial site plan so that we can start working on those dependent upon the specifications on the buildings themselves. And then also a suggestion that interior layout be subject to changes under staff review as long as the plan remains compliant with the STP conditions and other ordinance requirements. That's included because as these permits go to the state level, there may be changes at Division of Air Quality, Environmental Review, or Stormwater that may necessitate a slight change in that layout. And so as long as they're compliant with the rest of the site plan, staff requests that be reviewed at that level.
That's great. Okay. The applicant, Energy Storage Solutions, will now present evidence and legal arguments in support of the request. As a reminder, any evidence and argument must focus upon the applicable standards. Before you begin, please state for the record your name, address, in relation to the case. The first speaker, ladies. Before you begin, I've got a few questions. So your name, address, in relation to the case.
My name is Dan Schaefer. I live at 1050 Circle Drive, Robertsonville, North Carolina. I'm president of the Energy Storage Solutions. We're based at 4462 Meadowbrook Road in Rocky Mount.
And before you begin, please confirm that you're sworn at the start of the hearing.
Yes, I was.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. As I stated, my name is Dan Schaefer. I'm the president of Energy Storage Solutions. We're a development company based in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Currently, we are developing a net zero data center campus in the town of Tarboro, located south of Anaconda Road and east of McNair Road on 52 acres already designated heavy industrial use. The project will be built in 8 phases, Each phase will have approximately an all-in cost of $800 million. The total project will be approximately $6.4 billion. We've submitted the spreadsheets with the proposal. Also, as an exhibit, the President has issued an executive order supporting data centers, and particularly the use of alternative energy sources to support the data centers. In this particular case, we're talking about natural gas and potentially a blend of hydrogen. We will support our data center with our own generation. In fact, we will generate more power than what's required to operate a data center, and potentially for community emergencies or any kind of disruption in power services, we could put power back onto the grid to support the local community. There'd be enough power to actually support the entire county and then some. The project, when completed, will pay the town of Tarboro more than $77 million in property taxes spread over a 12-year period. There will be additional taxes also paid to the county. We anticipate full employment of the campus to be, when it's completed, 500 well-paid employees. Our intention to hire locally. Salary ranges will go from $50,000 to $250,000 annually. We are submitting as part of our documents a study completed by Salute. Salute is a company that operates data centers across the United States. They've done the spreadsheets and projections on the particular jobs involved that reached the number of 500. 29-page analysis, and it's also a proposal to come in and help us organize, train, and run the data center. They particularly would like to work with the community college, bring in their own staff to help with the local training, and the policy is to hire local as much as possible. We've also had a discussion with the sheriff's office, Sheriff Cleveland Atkinson, discussing the requirement to have an emergency evacuation corridor through our project in the event of a problem with the railroad tracks or a spillage or something that might occur there. And of course, we've agreed to that, and we specifically made corrections on our plan designs to accommodate that. We had further discussions about participation of the sheriff's office and staff in helping us with our security staffs at the various data centers that we'll be developing in the area. And he was receptive to the idea, but we're waiting for feedback from the county attorney on that. We are green energy developers entering into data centers. And we're particularly concerned that we don't pollute the neighborhood. So we are putting into effect a cleanup system called the carbon sponge. And the carbon sponge will not only clean 100% of the pollution, but 130%. And how that is accomplished is that we bring in ambient air from around the facility. And as the air comes through our carbon sponge, it's also clean of carbon and pollution. So, in fact, all the properties around our site will have actually cleaner air than the rest of the county. We brought in tonight a dozen expert witnesses and engineers to outline in more detail the operation of the data center and the equipment, to include noise level consultants, local real estate appraisers, professional experts to clarify questions concerning our project. And we want to be completely transparent about everything we're doing, so any questions that are presented to us, we're more than happy to answer to the best of our ability and our knowledge. Other than that, I think that we can proceed to some of the witnesses. I'd like to ask Linda Daltrich, the property owner, to say a few words in support of the project.
Mr. Schaefer, for clarity, I do need to ask for attorney. Would that be appropriate at this time to ask this witness a question on this? Yes, sir. But would it be appropriate for questions to be asked of the current witness before we
Seems like it's part of this presentation.
But
does the board have any questions for the witness before we? Councilman Brown?
Yes, you say all campus for 500 well-paid employees with salaries, are you incorporating the contractors and stuff that are going to be there as part of those employees, or these actually after construction? This is how many employees that facility that will be there at that facility.
This is after construction, and it's our intent for the construction process to involve as many local contractors as possible, some of which we've reached out to already. So it's 500 employees once we open the full facility.
So those are going, how many phases? 3 phases?
8 phases.
8 phases. So your first phase will be,
the salute report there indicates 69 employees within the data center itself. In addition to that, there'll be another dozen or 15 that will be operating the energy generation, the energy cogeneration, the energy storage systems, and also the carbon sponge clean up all the pollution. So that will exceed, if you add 69 and you put another dozen or 15 people onto that, and then you multiply that times 6, because the analysis is for each 50 megawatt AC. So we have actually 8 projects, and 6 of them are each, or 4 of them are each 50 megawatt AC, and 4 of them are 25 megawatt AC. So you have to put 2 of those together, you get 1550. So that's 6. So it'd be 6 times 69. That gets us up to 414. And then if we add plus or minus 100 from the other functions, we're at 500.
can I ask, let me ask you this, or you just involved in the construction of this project, in the building out of the project, or you will be involved in running the facility after?
We will be the developers, and we will have control of the project through COD. Once we get to COD, then our investment companies come in, and our position will become 12.5% of the ownership. So we'll be a minority participant in the ownership, but the data centers will bring in and train their own professional staffs, and the operations of the energy generation and energy storage and carbon sponge systems will also be trained, but we won't be participating in anything except the development, and then we'll hand the operation over to quite possibly Salute, who's prepared this proposal to us, and we'll step back at that point.
Is there a representative of Salute?
No, just their written proposal.
So did this estimate of the government come from them, or?
Yes. The address to me that came from them.
Anything further, Councilman Brown? Councilman Pittman?
Yes, sir. You said you'd be paying property taxes for 12 years.
Yes.
Does that mean the life expectancy of this building is 12 years?
What the spreadsheet reflects, and I'm not an accountant, I apologize, but I prepared the spreadsheet. What we're looking at is a project that is $6.4 billion size, and that it will have an accelerated depreciation based on the federal schedule. So the accelerated depreciation is over a period of 7 years. So what we've done is we've taken the projected tax revenues after the abatement each year for 6 years, and the 7th year on the spreadsheet is showing no income at all. But that's not, in fact, how it will work. What happens is, since we're doing 8 phases, once we get it fully permitted, we'll start construction. And it's going to take 12 to 18 months to do every phase. Now, we don't want to do one phase and then another phase and another phase. What we want to do is get one well underway, and then start a second phase. And when those are both well underway, then maybe once we've completed the first one, then we'll do the third. So the time frame will spread out anywhere between 3 to 5 years to build the whole project, the whole campus. That means that on our spreadsheets on the tax credits, and well, not the tax credits, but on the property taxes, we're going to end up spreading that really over a 12-year period. Now, once we get to the, say, the 12th year or the 7th year of each phase, then the land still has value, the building still has value, and there will be an assessment for property taxes as it exists. In addition to that, the data centers are the peak of technology, and it changes every 12 months. So what that means is that we're going to be replacing our computing powers on a regular basis, certain percentage systematically, all through phase 1, all through 8 phases. So that what we're actually doing is we're reinvesting more into additional computing power, which is all taxable. So at the end of the 12 years, that's just reflecting accelerated depreciation. But all the new acquisitions and the new upgrades on the data centers will probably go on forever. So we're talking about land leases that are 20 years with 4 or 5 year options. So initially, this is a 40-year schedule that we're looking at, and the tax revenues in some years could actually go up depending on how much compute power we have to upgrade.
Anything further, Councilman Vitt? No. Councilman Anderson?
Yeah, that was my question, stuff, but I never operating.
Councilman Taylor?
You mentioned the term or this, I guess, safety feature of carbon sponge. Has that ever been tested? What I mean is, has there been a situation where it actually had to come into play? And was it effective for what it was supposed to do?
I'm not an expert on this, but we do have a carbon sponge spokesman expert at present. So he can either address this issue now or later on. We'll get an order. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. All right, Councilman Taylor, we've got Councilman Brown and then Councilman.
Yes, I didn't quite understand your answer. He asked, does that mean that project is over in 12 years or the what? That's what I think you asked. Can you help me?
Yeah, I asked if what would happen after 12 years, since he said it was to be paid, just 12 years with property tax, and then said it could go on indefinitely. I understood that.
Correct.
Is that what you said?
Yes. I may not have properly expressed it, but what I meant.
Okay, so how does it go on indefinitely then? Since, but I know you're talking about phases and phase being restored and then.
Well, the phases will go on for 12 years. However, the project will go on for 40 years. Now, unlike a lot of businesses that you do your capital investments up front, and that's it. In data centers, we have to, on an ongoing replacement of technologies, year after year after year.
Right.
So in order to remain competitive and to utilize the system to its most efficient levels, we'll have to replace millions and millions of dollars worth of computing components throughout the system. That'll happen on a yearly basis. And as they're replaced, all that's taxable. So the taxes that we're going to accumulate, say, in year 3, when we're replacing equipment, in year 4 and year 5, is not in our spreadsheet. But as it occurs, right now it's a little difficult for us to project what it would be, but in fact, it'll be significant, and the amounts, the cost of the system could more than double, say, within the first 20 years just on the additional upgrades.
Let me ask another question. Are you saying that the taxes will stop actually?
Only on the projected initial budget. But since we're going to be spending more money buying more equipment and upgrading the equipment, that the tax levels will continue to decrease on all the new components indefinitely. So it could go up 40 years, the whole length of the lease on the property.
And I've got another couple of questions. How do you propose to address increasing water use, noise, and rising utility costs, which some residents have experienced around these days?
Well, first off, I have no understanding or control over what the utilities bills are. I don't understand the mechanics of that. But I have expert witnesses here that will address all these other issues more intelligently than what I can solve.
Councilman, what do you? All right, so we've got Councilman Anderson and Councilman Brown.
Does another one of these facilities exist around here?
What data centers are doing,
Not data centers, but natural gas power.
For power generation. Yes, Duke Energy and North Carolina Co-ops, even North Carolina Co-ops is right now preparing their own systems to generate power using natural gas. I believe in the last town council meeting I was at, they made reference to a small generating system. I assume it's operating on natural gas. Very locally, as I understood, it would be moved. They had budget to move it and make it operational. But
that's on a data side.
Not on data, it's on the town.
Is there a natural gas generated data center?
All over the country, but I didn't prepare for that question. I really need a list. The issue is this, if you don't mind me saying this. Anywhere we want to build a data center, there's not enough power. It just isn't. So if we wanted to build a number of data centers in Edgecombe County, it's my understanding, talking to the utilities here, that there's only a surplus of 200 megawatts AC. We're going to be using much more. As a result, that would be a serious problem for the utility and for the community. So all the data centers are going to have a solution, and our solution is that we can generate power using natural gas. We can generate it cost effective for much less money than what it costs us to buy from a utility. And in some cases, we're generating in excess of what we need. So at some point, we could actually sell power back onto the grid to the various utilities, cost effective, and still on our side make a profit doing it. So these systems are being instituted all over the country right now. It's for data centers, it's for utility companies, it's for large factories, but you know, it's pretty common use.
Anything further, Councilman? Councilman Brown?
I totally agree with all we talked about, generation of power. One thing I think is causal Troy about a little bit, and maybe you have someone here with leaders and he's trying to kind of generate power because of his time. I thought it's going to be power. Natural gas power generated, and I think they have more of a natural gas, I think, will be too much steam, and steam actually drives Like that, so it's not a motor that's generating, it's actually steam that's generating for the turbine.
I can give you a quick summary. We have several expert witnesses there who give you more detail. What we're doing is we're taking natural gas being supplied by Piedmont, and it will power our gas turbines. And the gas turbines will heat up water and other commodities to generate power. Now, the heat from the turbines will then be used in cogeneration to produce more power on the heat from the turbines. And then the heat coming out of the data centers will also be fed into our systems as well. So we'll be generating through the turbines, and then we'll also be recovering heat and more energy, up to 60 to 80% of what the turbine generates. And then it'll be fed into the carbon sponge system. All this in each stage reduces the noise levels and removes all the pollution from it. So in simplistic terms, that's what the system is. And then the power that's created will go into an energy storage system. The energy storage system will then power the data center. Now, because we have to have redundancy to support the data center, in other words, they don't want the lights to go out at all, we will over-generate, we'll have the capacity to generate twice as much power as we need. Now, a lot of the turbines won't function. They'll be sitting there for maintenance, they'll be sitting there just for reserves. And this will lengthen the life of the whole system. But if we need to generate the power for an emergency situation of whatever kind, we'll have the ability to generate more power than Tarboro Electric has, than Edgecombe Martin has, than Rocky Mountain Electric has, all put together. So it's, it's a pretty big system, but we're only going to be operating 55% of it at any one time.
So let me get this straight, so it's not a steam power.
It's clean power.
The clean power.
130%.
Do you have someone who lives in the state on this?
Yes.
The second part of that, I think, says something along the lines that you leasing property for 10 years.
Well, the property owner, Linda Daltrey, speaking has, but we create special entity structures, LLCs, for tax purposes. And one of the mechanisms that we're using is that we can't commingle money at all. So that the money that goes into, say, that this phase and this LLC is separate. So since we have phases, we'll essentially have 8 land leases. And that keeps our separation on each legal entity separate rather than doing an umbrella lease on the whole project. So that's kind of how that is.
We call these the car.
Yes.
Any further questions you can speak here before we move to the next?
If I could ask Linda Daltrey.
She said, I'm Linda Daltrich. I have been sworn. I live at 4460 Middleburg Road. I am the manager and the registered agent of the LLC, which has ownership of the 52-acre tract that we've been discussing tonight. My husband and I purchased this property in 2017. 2018, the property was transferred to the present LLC. The zoning for this property has been heavy industrial for many years. Some permitted uses in heavy industrial zoning are junkyards, landfills, and mining, just to name a few. For some time now, I have been in face-to-face discussions and email chains concerning safety, potential noises, and the economic impact of this project on our community and to our community. Therefore, from what I have learned, I am very pleased that our property has been chosen for power generation in connection with data center. I would ask that you listen carefully each of the individual professional speakers here tonight who can provide you with the technical information concerning this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doddridge. Does the board have any questions for the witness?
Yeah.
Councilman Whitaker, Ms. Doddridge? Councilman Whitaker. Yes, ma'am.
How long is the lease? I was, you're saying that the project was a separate lease, is that?
I'm not prepared to answer those questions. I'm the property owner. I'm not a technical person, so someone else would have to answer those questions. All right.
We'd like to ask our prime contractor to speak, Will Johnson.
All right, Mr. Jensen, before you begin, could you call yourself an expert witness?
Yes.
Okay. So, for certain technical matters, this board needs opinion testimony from a qualified expert. Please state for the record your name, company, and address. Also, please state the topic you will discuss and provide professional qualifications and experience that qualify you as an expert in this matter.
My name is Will Jensen.
Company?
Arco Design Build. And I live at address 5935 Winter Ridge, Atlanta, Georgia.
And please discuss and provide your professional qualifications and experience that qualify you as an expert in the matter.
I've been with Arco for 10.5 years. I run the data center division out of Atlanta, and we build large-scale infrastructure and data center projects all around the country, just like this, of this nature. And we've been engaged on this project, talking with Mr. Schaefer and company for many months now. And so, been very involved in helping put together the site plans and general coordination to get us to the point we're at.
Thank you. And you've stated your name, address, in relation to your case. It's your turn.
I'm here to say, Arco is a large national general contractor that has the capability to perform this project. We are, working all across the country. And when we come into towns and do projects, our goal is always to try to find as many local subcontractors and suppliers as possible. This case, we've already been talking with Barnhill Construction, who's a large site work contractor local to the area. Our intent would be to engage with somebody like that. But in addition to that, we're going to look across the whole spectrum for all of the various construction positions and subcontractors that we'd be hiring. We recognize we can't always get everybody local. We try our hardest to do that. In addition to that, from a
currently 20.
Quantity of positions during construction with each phase, because some of these phases will be overlapped, I would say 150 or so folks would be employed through our subcontractors and suppliers on site. So that will continue on, and as we layer more phases on top of each other, it's be a pretty busy job site. We think, boots on the ground, as Dan mentioned, plus or minus 12 months from when we get going to turning over phases, and that's just working continuously. So, what happened? Thank you.
All right. Does the board have any questions for the witness? Got Councilman Woodard, Councilman Anderson, and then Councilwoman Jordan. Councilman Woodard. Yes, sir.
Please qualify the witness as an expert.
Does council have any objection to qualifying Mr. Jensen as an expert witness?
Just have one question.
Yes, sir.
Can you clarify again what you do?
Yes, good question, right? So I'm the vice president of division. I oversee all of the operations, all the project managers, the on-site superintendents. So anybody that has a relationship to this project in Arco, I manage.
Project manager?
Project manager will be somebody out of our Atlanta office. And so they would work under and alongside myself.
Thank you.
For the record, Mr. Jensen, what are some of your credentials? Do you have licensing degrees?
So I have a civil engineering degree from Florida State. The way large national general contractors work, the licensing is taken as a whole. And so I happen to have taken the California test. So I, hold the license in California for ARCO. But, that's generally the big contractors. We have designated people that take them for the states that represent the company.
And the board needs to decide whether you are an expert witness. If you can take the vote.
What is the objection?
Does anybody object to Mr. Jensen being an expert witness?
Expert witness for type of businesses coming, or expert witness for who might manage people, expert witness for what?
He is knowledgeable.
For his testimony,
Yes, ma'am.
I know he said he managed people, that.
For all the construction.
Yes, so we're looking for expert witness for the type of business that's coming here, gonna, look into managing the project they're trying to do, that's the type of expert witness.
For clarity, he's part of the construction crew. He stated for the record his degree from Florida State University and his in civil engineering and passing the California exam for ARC. So Mr. Jensen will speak on, if there is no objection, will speak on the construction side of the project. Does anyone on the council object? I have a question. For him, okay, I've got Councilman Anderson, Councilwoman Jordan, and then Councilman Anderson, you have the floor. So just, wait, hold on. You need to give your testimony. You do? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm lost. Councilman Anderson, you have the floor.
So, just for clarity from earlier, it sounds like you're on the construction side, all specialized, I guess.
Yes.
Curious about how many data centers there are in the United States, or how many natural gas generation turbines there are, how many natural gas generated data centers together. Is that?
Great question.
It's the first for all.
So for us, yes, in transparency, right? These are not all that common, but they are growing in popularity and need around the country.
Where the closest one to us is, or
So the most famous one that's actively being built is out in Abilene, Texas. It's for OpenAI, ChatGPT. And so that is an absolutely massive one. And so that's been, under construction for the last year or so. But there's other ones up in West Virginia that are going in the Dakotas and beyond. I can't speak on that.
Anything further, Councilman Anderson? Councilman Taylor?
Have you managed, been a project manager for this type of project, including all the rest of those, how this is going to be constructed and power system, the whole 9 yards? In other words, have you built or been a project manager for a data center of this nature prior to this project?
So data center, yes, but as I mentioned, doing on-site power generation, no. So what we do is we team up with other groups, some of which are here tonight. They can give their testimony. And so, we've, in areas that we don't necessarily have the experience, we bring in others and we work alongside them and help manage that.
Do you have knowledge of Woods level at this point? That would be another person to speak.
We have a whole presentation on that, and I think it's best left to him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anything further, Councilman Taylor? Councilman Jordan?
Well, since the land is gonna be leased.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does any party that's been established have any questions for the witness? All right. Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Energy Storage Solutions, do you wish to call any other witnesses to speak on your behalf?
Yes, I've been over one from Morgan. We'd like to have our local real estate appraiser speak. Leonard Breedlove.
Mr. Breedlove, you have something to read to. For certain technical matters, this board needs opinion testimony from a qualified expert. Please state for the record your name, company, and address.
Leonard Breedlove, Triangle East Appraisals. 1213 Waterloo Drive, Rocky Mount.
Also, please state the topic that you will discuss and provide your professional qualifications and experience to qualify you as an expert in this matter.
I'm going to be talking about potential market value issues. I've been a real estate appraiser in Eastern North Carolina for the last 41 years. Certified in Virginia and North Carolina. Certified in Virginia the last 30 years.
This board will decide whether this witness is an expert. Does anybody have any objections? Mr. Breedlove being an expert in appraisal?
Then what the appraisal residential
I do a combination. Well, to be frank, there hadn't been a whole lot of industrial appraisals needed in this area in quite a while. I'd say 75% of my business is residential. 15-20% could be farms, states. I've done commercial appraisals. I've done some industrial stuff over the years, but none in the last 3 or 4 years.
Does anybody have any objections to determining Mr. Breedlove as an expert witness?
So, you use that
I'm here to talk about the market value of the outside residential, how the impact could be.
Are there any objections?
How about stating that you experience appraisal in residential in Washington, but probably not illegal.
That's an objection.
Well, if it's overall, it's probably different. But if it's about residential, I mean, this stuff is not even got to be.
I believe that you correct. I believe your testimony is the impact of this property surrounding.
Yes.
Property value.
Yes.
Residential.
Yes. I'm not here to give you the price value.
Okay. Does anybody else on this board take objection, Mr. Breedlove?
I just want to encourage you. Establish commercial residential and but if he's testifying about the industrial value of the property,
I'm not testifying about value.
Yeah.
All right, and any other objections? Stated your name, address in relation to the case. Please affirm that you were sworn in at the beginning of the hearing.
I was.
Thank you. The floor is yours, Mr. Breedlove.
Okay, what you have here is an industrial facility going in to an industrial park. You've got an animal shelter. You've got a detention center already out there. When you look at the impact on the marketability of the homes around it, there's 3 new homes going up on the narrow road right now. The appraisals that I have done in South Hills for Microsoft is really busting at the seams with the data centers up there. I have not seen any impact on the stuff I've done and the listings in those areas where those data centers are going in. In fact, I've seen some residential growth to accommodate the people coming in those data centers. Here, in this place here, where the building is going to be, with the screening and buffering that's going to take place, unless you see it going up, when you ride down the road when it's finished, you probably will not know what's even there. So from my professional opinion, having done real estate appraisals in Edgecombe County, Tarboro, I cannot see that it would be any negative impact on the residential uses around the the center. Because if the detention center hadn't had an impact and the new animal shelter with the barking dogs is coming up, I don't see how the residential, particularly the developer that's putting those 3 houses up, I don't think he would have started 3 homes if he'd had any issue with an industrial park. We get this project, we've already got commercial and industrial use out there. So it hasn't seemed to affect the property on the outskirts of it to this point. And if you look at what the permitted uses are out there, this is a permitted use, waste transfer station, heavy equipment, mobile home sale lot, recycling, collection center, and with the additional use permit, it will allow, with a additional use permit, adult establishments, a racetrack, shooting range, correctional institution, mining junkyard, and a landfill. So when you look at what's potentially going out there, that is a more viable use to protect the property values around it than what some of these other uses would be. It's already permitted. Yeah.
Councilman Taylor, did you have any further testimony, sir? Councilman Taylor, the floor is yours.
Did you have the opportunity to speak to any of the homeowners that live on McNair Road? No. The new construction that you were talking about on McNair Road, that's also being built by the same property owner that owns this property, is that correct?
Correct. But I do know that he does not just throw stuff up without making money on it.
Yeah, that's a personal opinion, I guess, so I appreciate it.
Please keep comments down.
I don't know about if you can ask this question, but would you buy a home on McNair Road if I went back to your property?
If I want
joining this property?
If I wanted to live in Tarboro, yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's all. Thank you. Yeah,
I will, make that judgment I listen to the gentleman, the sound is perfect, as far as transmitting the sound and the travel and the production. Hearing conversation.
Anything for Councilman Brown? Any questions for the witness? Does anyone else on the board have questions for the witness? Does any party have additional questions for the witness, parties that have been established? Thank you, Mr. Breedlove. Energy Storage Solutions, do you wish to call any other witnesses to speak on behalf of your case?
Yes, our site work engineer, Eric Redmond.
Eric, and before you get going, let me read aloud a few things to you. For certain technical matters, this board needs opinion testimony from a qualified expert. Please state for the record your name, company, and address.
Eric Reichenbach, 112 Brook Lane, Mount Holly, North Carolina. Tarboro Engineering.
Thank you. And the address to?
For Scout Code?
Yes.
4000 West Chase Boulevard, Suite 450, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Thank you. And please state the topic that you will discuss and provide your professional qualifications and experience that qualify you as an expert in this matter.
I'll be discussing the civil site work piece at a very high level, and I am a professionally licensed engineer in the state of North Carolina and Virginia, and have designed data center projects in the state of North Carolina.
When you said the last statement, what was that?
I've designed other data center projects in the state of North Carolina.
Thank you.
Okay. With regard to the witness status as an expert, or any parties withstanding, I apologize. The board will now decide whether this witness is an expert. Does anybody have any objections to Mr. Reichenbach's credentials?
So what kind of engineer was that?
Professional civil engineer.
Civil engineer, and your training? training and license came from?
Training and license came from on the job. Been doing this for 5 years and was licensed, for the last year.
Does anybody have any objections, Councilman Taylor?
This data center that's proposed, you said you have done data centers before designed. Have you designed one that is exactly as this with the natural gas power, the carbon sponge that's been mentioned a couple of times? Have you engineered or worked on a project of this nature before?
Due to non-disclosure agreements, I cannot say the exact nature, but yes.
Does anybody object to this gentleman's qualifications as a expert witness? Board Chair?
Okay, so, and you're,
I'm sorry, I messed up one last time. Please confirm that you're sworn at the start of the year.
yes, yes, it was.
Board Chair.
As has been discussed, you all know the subject property is 52 acres. Anaconda Drive and abuts Air Road, resident property for our west and south. For the general site plan, I believe, Mr. Schaefer has provided you a site plan in your pamphlet. It's 8.5 by 11. It has the general site layout, that we have put together over the last few months in participation with the other partners that Mr. Schaefer has hired. And we have gone through a few iterations to get to this point. We have engaged, planning. That's why we're here for the special use permit. Generally, we will, design the site to follow all town of Tarboro, NCDQ, and NCDQ, stormwater and erosion control standards, that are required and outlined in the ordinances that are given to us. Those guidelines. We've designed the site to drain to one common drainage point in the northeast corner, which outfalls to an existing natural drainage path that then goes under McNair Road to the west. The regional detention pond will be designed in the phase 1. I know we talked about 8 phases here tonight. We will design that in the first phase for construction purposes. That pond will be designed, however, to handle the stormwater for all 8 phases whenever this full property is built out. As far as water usage, we've worked with our plumbing engineer preliminarily to determine that water usage of 1,320 gallons per minute is required with an 8-inch water line, which town of Tarboro has confirmed is available on Anaconda. Total gallons per day usage is around 2 million right now. That is a preliminary number. Our process team is still working through that. These are self-contained data centers, so they have less water usage than traditional data centers would. That is more of a topic for the data processing team though. We designed for the infrastructure to supply that water and to allow the water to leave the site safely via the town's sewer system. We also are providing 50-foot undisturbed landscape buffers on the western south property line. The sound wall that we have proposed will sit behind those buffers, so the trees will screen the sound wall that is approximately 10 feet higher than those property lines.
Any further testimony? All right. So does the board have any questions for the witness? Got Councilman Anderson, Councilman Jordan, Councilman Taylor, Councilman Brown, and then Councilman Woodard in that order. Line of dispute. Councilman Anderson.
I assume the gas turbines are probably louder in the data center itself. I'm not sure. That's this for either.
I'll defer to the sound engineer. I believe he's coming up after us. No worries.
Further questions, Councilman Anderson? Councilwoman Jordan?
Yes, sir. Since the man is gonna be used as home leader, what's the nice thing with this?
As far as the buildings or the site infrastructure design? As far as the battery power generation things, I'm not privy to those. I'm the site work engineer, so I design the roads, the utilities to all that equipment that they're procuring for the operation of the building. I can state that our site designs are for North Carolina codes as far as the longevity and the design.
What that's kind of.
North Carolina mandates a 25-year